Welcome to the Dream Team with Vinny and Cate.
Tonight is the Nightmare Special, and we've got our dream psychologist Ian Wallace with us to interpret your nightmares.
Just a warning ahead of these dreams, some of them people may find disturbing. First dream, Cate, do you want to go?
So this is from Jack. He says, I've had the same nightmare a couple of times. I awake in the dream and I'm aware there is someone under my bed. I can feel my heart beat in my chest as I try to sink into the mattress to be able to see if they come out from underneath it on any side of my bed. My body also feels frozen, like I can't move, like fear or paralysis.
This is quite a common sleep phenomenon from Jackie, and it's called sleep paralysis. And it sounds really scary, but what happens is it's quite a natural phenomenon. And if you are physically fatigued, if you're bodily fatigued, you can wake up sometimes and your mind wakes up before your body. And it can feel like you can't move your body, but because your mind's active, then you feel paralyzed. And what also can happen is that can make you feel really anxious. So your breathing becomes quite shallow and it can feel like someone is squeezing you or hugging you or sitting on your chest, or you're sinking into your bed. And because at that time, your brain is still producing something like dream imagery, but is also taking in what's actually in the room, then you're hovering in that, our favorite word of the evening, that liminal area between sleeping and waking. You're still producing dream imagery. And it can seem like there's a presence in the room or a shadow or an intruder or something like that. So the action from this dream situation, this particular phenomenon, is if you feel like you can't move, just start to move any little part of your body, wiggle your toes, start to move your fingers and just get your body moving. And it is very common amongst people who do shift work or are having disrupted sleep in some way. So try and get a really good sleep, get high quality sleep, and you won't experience this quite unsettling phenomena again.
It's horrible. Have you ever had it?
Yeah. My mum gets it a lot as well.
Really, I've only had it once or twice. Once I remember I was living in Manchester. I was probably quite tired, let's say, as Ian was alluding to there, and I was lying on the floor of my living room talking to my friend. I fell asleep, but I remember being awake and screaming inside my head because I wanted to move. And I could hear what was happening, but I couldn't move any part of my body, and it was quite upsetting.
Oh, it's terrifying because you feel like something really bad has happened to you. Actually, you're just still partly asleep, as Ian says. Thank you, Ian.
This one's from Diane. It says, I had a dream once that I was walking along the road with my mum on the pavement and her head fell off. She carried on walking and I was screaming, trying to get her head out from underneath a car. It was absolutely awful and I woke up with a start. Quite a disturbing nightmare there, Ian.
Yeah, so people tend to separate dreams and nightmares as they're completely different things, but all a nightmare is a dream where it's a bit more emotional and it's a bit scarier because you are processing some powerful emotions. So the dream doesn't happen to us, we happen to the dream and we create everything in the dream, including all the characters. So when you dream of your mother, it's not really your mother you're dreaming about, it's whatever particular quality that you associate with your mother, whether it's caring or nurturing or really good fun or whatever. So that's the quality that the dreamer is trying to connect with in waking life. When you dream of a pavement, and a pavement can sound like a quite dull thing to dream about, but what a pavement symbolizes is it's a place where you use your energy and self-motivation to stay secure as you move closer to your ambitions, which are symbolized by the road. And when we dream about our head's where we have all our thoughts and ideas and what's going on round about us. So when your mum's head falls off, there's something in your waking life where you can feel like you're losing the head a little, that you're getting a bit triggered by something, that you need to use that quality you associate with your mother. And the head going under the car symbolizes personal ambition and drive about making choices that you need to make to progress towards your objective. So it suggests that in the dreamer's waking life, there's a situation where she needs to use energy and self-motivation to keep herself secure rather than getting triggered by something and losing her head and not being able to pursue her ambitions with the drive that they would.
So many different layers on that.
Isn't it? It's not at all where I thought that would go.
No. Can I ask, Ian, is there a difference between night terrors and nightmares? Because night terrors we tend to associate with children more, but is there a difference?
Yeah, there's a big difference, Vinny. So people tend to conflate and confuse all these different terms like sleep paralysis, night terrors, night paralysis, nightmares. So in a child, because their brain is growing rapidly and is very plastic, then they don't have the same neural mechanisms that an adult has to differentiate between waking and sleeping. So, and they have different sleep cycles, and which become more adult as they mature. So what's happening in a night terror is it's usually far more terrifying for the parent or the guardian, because the child can seem to just sit bolt upright in bed or seem really upset. But the best thing to do is just to make sure that the child is not going to harm themselves in any way or cause any harm. And usually they'll just go back to sleep. It's a little bit similar to sleepwalking, somnambulism, because that is most common in children. And again, it's that ability to have that clear differentiation between sleeping and waking and dreaming. So in a night terror, the best thing to do is just to make sure the child is okay and it's not going to harm themselves or anyone, and just let them go back to sleep. If the child does wake up and is very upset, then of course comfort them and tell them everything's okay.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Here's one from Roisin. She says, I have a nightmare where I'm trying to get out of a house and a woman is knitting me into the house. I could never get out. This terrifies me. I've had this dream twice a year for about 20 years. So she's really keen to get an answer to this.
No doubt. Being knitted into the house.
Like trapped, like a big knitting, getting trapped into the house.
Yeah, this one's it's a really fascinating dream. And again, although it sounds really scary, and I'm sure it is for Roisin, then the key part of it is just an amazing thing that the brain can generate images and stories like this. So what knitting symbolises, so knitting is all about creativity, and it's about connecting different parts of something into a tangible whole. And when you knit something, it's usually something that's very comforting, like a woolly jumper or woolly socks. So in Roisin's dream about knitting, there's some situation in her waking life where she is bringing together different strands of her talents and experience and getting really comfortable with them. But it also suggests, because she's been knitted into this house, so the house represents the self, it represents your identity, she maybe feels that she is having to effectively act out someone else's story, someone else's expectations that they have of her. And instead of feeling that she has to do things that will please other people and help her to be accepted by other people, she needs to draw together all these strands of her own story and experience and do what she wants to do and start to feel really, really comfortable about that.
That'd be very helpful for her, actually.
Absolutely. We have an audio clip for you now, Ian. This is from Catherine.
It's a bit of a weird one. I've had it since I was a little girl, and I only ever get it when I'm getting really sick. Well, it makes me feel weird even talking about it. Right. I have a thing about big hands anyway, they freak me out. A big giant hand, and it's a black room, and the hand takes up the whole room. It's coming towards like a tiny little thread that's so minuscule it's like non-existent, and it actually makes me feel, even telling you, it's making me feel ick, like it makes me feel horrendous. And guaranteed I have that dream and I wake up with a fever and I'm sick, like really sick for a week.
What do you reckon, Ian?
Yeah, so we have to state that we're not giving any medical advice on this show. This is just psychological perspective and approach. We have these things sometimes called prodromal dreams, and what that means is a dream that will give us some indication that we might be falling ill or feeling poorly. And it sounds like this is what's happening with Catherine. But also the other part of it is that just looking at the symbolism of what the hand means. So what a hand does, a hand represents how you shape and control your actions in life. And if you feel that a big hand is coming towards you, it sounds like you feel like something is taking control of a situation that you want to be in control of and is not acting in your best interest. It's not acting on your behalf, which may be this prodromal effect on becoming ill and feeling sick. So in doing that, it may be, rather than getting really concerned and feeling quite passive that something's going to happen, the best way to use a prodromal dream, however scary it is to think, right, I'm starting to feel, I'm probably starting to get a bit poorly, even though I'm still feeling okay. I'm going to get a bit poorly and a bit ill. So reduce my stress levels, look after myself, make sure I can be as healthy as I can, don't do unhealthy things, make sure my diet's okay, make sure my sleep hygiene and regime is okay, all that part of it. So that connection is something that Catherine's brain is doing to say, just better watch out, you may be getting overstressed here. And that can also make you feel really anxious and a bit ick as well. When stress starts to build up and you start to feel out of control, again, use that word no and just step back from the situation and look after your own needs and not the needs of others around you.
Okay, thank you.
Love it. Another great one.
So after you've an upsetting dream, how do our brains calm down to get back to sleep? How can we help ourselves kind of settle again after a dream like that?
Well, the best thing to do, again, is to realise that the dream's not happening to you, you're happening to the dream. And the reason you're creating such powerful emotions in the dream is there's some situation in waking life. And again, it's not a passive thing, it's a situation where you can step into your power and actually start to use some of your power. And as we know, the fundamental function of dreaming is to process our emotions. And that's why when you have a scary dream, it can sometimes seem to hang around all day or for a few days, those emotions of dread and anxiety and so on. One of the best ways around this, rather than just waking up from a nightmare, so that's what we all tend to do when we're having a really scary dream. We think, oh, I need to wake myself up when I'm having a dream. There is a point between dreaming and waking. It's called the hypnagogic state, where you can actually influence the content of your dream. And this is what we do in lucid dreaming, when we become conscious that we're actually dreaming and can start to shape and influence the dream. So if you can, and it requires a bit of courage and confidence and a bit of practice, and it's quite a scary thing to do, as you start to realize in the dream that you're creating this nightmare, whatever it is that's causing you to have these nightmarish feelings, you need to confront it and engage with it. So for example, if you're being chased by a monster or a gang of men or whatever in your dreams, as you start to realize that, rather than just waking up, try and just stay in that dream, just stay in that state, and whatever's threatening you, turn around to it and say, who are you and what do you need? Now, that can sound a really silly thing to try and do, but because you're in that lovely state hovering between dreaming and waking, usually you'll get an answer coming back from your unconscious that will probably be quite surprising, and it will give you some indication on how to resolve these powerful emotions and do something really positive and healthy with them in waking life.
Wow.
Exactly. Sounds easier said than done, but there's an option for you.
Here's another one. I dream I'm in the back seat of a car. No one is driving and the car is going fast. I have to get into the front seat and take control of the car. It's a recurring dream. Last time I had it was country roads I didn't recognise. Sometimes it's on the street my grandmother lived on and the street is downhill.
Well, we're going to mention a number here. This is the 8th most common dream that people have.
What, the granny bit or the car bit? Which bit?
It's the car bit. So that's the main part. In terms of having a car and the street where your granny lived, it was downhill. That's probably the 4 millionth dream that people is way out there. But we did mention the car earlier in an earlier dream. And so a car is all about your personal ambition and drive. Anytime you dream about a vehicle, it's about where you're trying to go in waking life. So when you dream about a car, it's an individual vehicle and it's about your personal ambition and drive. And if you feel that you're in the back seat, you feel that you're trying to control or manage the situation, but you're not the person in charge. You're not the person in control. And so you feel that you can't actually access any of the controls, the wheel or any of the pedals or anything like that. And maybe you're taking a back seat because you don't want to put yourself forward. you don't want to put yourself forward into a situation where maybe you don't feel experienced enough or have the skills you might need, or usually you might feel that people will give you a hard time. They will judge you if you actually step forward and take control of a situation. And because it feels a bit out of control, you feel you're kind of going in the right way to pursue your ambitions, but the reality is that forward and take control. And when you dream about your granny, it's whatever quality that you associate with your granny. So maybe your granny was quite decisive. Maybe she was really good at taking charge of a situation and stepping forward and making things happen. And because it's going downhill, although we often say, oh, this thing is going really downhill, suggesting it's not going anywhere, going downhill suggests that you don't have to expend too much effort to do this, that you can use gravity to help you progress towards your objective. So the action from the dream is get out of the back seat, step forward, step up, and start to influence and take control of whatever the situation is.
I'm intrigued by that one. I would like to know what the person makes of what Ian had to say there. But Ian, thank you. Now, next one is from Lana. Lana says, my daughter has a nightmare where flying cockroaches are all over her body. After the dream, she is afraid to close her eyes in case it happens again. And again, they are all over her body. Oh. What do you say? It sounds pretty horrendous for anyone, but especially for a child, Ian.
Yeah, that does sound really scary again. It depends what age Laura's daughter is, but in that when we dream of any kind of scary, insecty, arachnid thing, anytime we dream of a cockroach flying around, and again, just working with language, it's usually because there is something really bugging us in waking life. There are lots and lots of little irritants and things that are annoying us, and so on. And it can be quite often, if Laura's daughter is of school age, that there may be other children at school and maybe other people at school. Laura's daughter might be an adult, but there are lots and lots of little things.
I think, sorry to talk over you, Ian, I think in this instance, Lana's daughter is of like primary school age, so it's still quite young.
Right. Okay, so with Lana's daughter here, when quite young, it suggests that she's getting annoyed by a lot of things, and she's probably a little sweetheart, probably really nice, and she's not speaking up, and she needs to stand up and assert herself rather than having lots of other children giving her a hard time and criticising her and making fun of her and so on. So that's and because cockroaches usually come in big bunches, she probably feels maybe a little bit overwhelmed at school, and she just needs to be a bit more assertive and fight back for herself.
Oh, dear lover.
Yeah.
That's a terrible dream.
Horrible one to have. One from Emma, if you want to do that one.
Yes, I have a nightmare where I've forgotten my partner.
Like literally just forgotten.
Forgotten he exists.
Okay.
And then I remember and I'm fighting to get to him and it's horrendous. I can't reach him.
Yeah, that's a great dream from Emma. So again, all the characters in the dream, we create them all. And we don't create a facsimile of our partner in real life. It's just the quality that we associate with them. So whatever quality that Emma associates with her partner, and that might be, they might be really witty, they might be really wise, really intelligent, really capable, then she feels she's lost that ability somehow in waking life. So if her partner is really capable, then maybe Emma is feeling that she has lost the ability to deal with something, and she wishes she had that skill or whatever it is just to be able to resolve the situation. And then in the dream, she's trying to get that ability back. So it suggests that in waking life, there's a situation, whatever quality she associates with her partner, she's got the opportunity to use that quality and not feel like she's unable to do anything in whatever situation she finds herself in.
Very interesting.
Yes, hopefully, Emma, that is helpful for you. One last dream, Ian. This one is from Gemma. Gemma says, my dream is that I have been kidnapped with children. I have to help get them out. After I do this, my mum makes me run half a marathon barefoot. Very bizarre, upsetting, I'm sure. But what do you make of it, Ian?
Yeah, it's a great dream as well. Again, it's a lovely story, even though it's quite scary. So being kidnapped is the 80th most common dream. And it's all about feeling that people are making unfair demands on you, that you're subject to some kind of emotional blackmail. And the action from the dream is realizing that you've got the opportunity to transform your situation and give yourself freedom rather than feeling like a victim, that you can liberate yourself from feeling restricted by the expectations of others. And the bit about the marathon and doing that barefoot, which seems like an odd thing, because
Yes.
it doesn't seem to go with kidnaps at all. But a marathon is all about using your self-motivation and energy by using that to reach your ambition, your chosen ambition, and committing to it in the long run. That it's going to take a while to get somewhere to do this. And when we run barefoot, we often talk about having a particular stance in a situation, or this is where you stand, or this is my position on it. So when you dream of doing that barefoot, it's about it's connecting with your deeper values and being really open and honest with who you are. So this is a situation in Gemma's life where she's got the opportunity to commit to something in the long run, be really open and honest about it, and not feel like she has to submit or give in to the unfair demands and perhaps emotional blackmail of other people around her.
Ian, thank you. Really appreciate all that. Just finally, just briefly, how frightened should we be of our nightmares?
We shouldn't be frightened at all, Vinny. And when I work with clients and who come to me with nightmare experiences, or indeed who want to learn to lucid dream. So usually with lucid dreaming, you have to do things like go off to some dojo or ashram or follow a particular set of guidelines. But the best way to learn to lucid dream is from a nightmare, waking from a nightmare. So we shouldn't be scared of our nightmares. What we should be aware of and respect is that they give us an insight into how powerful we can be in waking life. People always think they have less power than they actually do. So when you create a nightmare, you're just reminding yourself that you can always be more powerful than you are just now.
Ooh.
What an ending.
I know.
Ian Wallace, like what an ending.